We have our favorite Canadian broadcaster here, Clyde Do Something, who is able to basically become an expert on everything Canadian. And since we have been sharing smoke over the last week or two, which has become a climate change story, but as Clyde has been covering, there's a lot more to it. And actually, even a University of Washington scientist who's kind of controversial because he doesn't go along with the climate change narrative, he even said it has nothing to do with the Canadian wildfires. But we're going to get into a lot of different aspects of it with Clyde. Clyde, this guy is a retired, I think he's a forest technician, the Department of Natural Resources, somewhere in Canada, who basically says in this longer video, I'm only going to show about a minute of it, that they were willing to help fight these wildfires and basically were told that they don't need your help, even though when they're going on TV, the politicians anyway, people in charge of this, are going on TV saying, we desperately need help. We desperately need help. We need people to sign up. We're understaffed. And then these people are, he's saying, well, we were offering to help and we were told to basically be on standby. Do I understand that correctly?
Yeah, you understand that correctly. So this is a retired technician in fire safety from Nova Scotia, where a lot of these fires are raging at the moment. And he said that he's been coming forward saying, hey, we really want to help with the effort. And they're being turned away, in some instances being politely turned away, and another instance being completely just ignored, saying, we don't want your help. We've got this covered. Yet they're turning around and selling the media, no, we have to bring in people from South Africa. And as he points out in this video, he says that a lot of these people, while their talents are there, they know what they're doing, they don't know as well as the particular people in that region for that type of forest and how to fight that particular type of fire. They should have the expertise of people who are knowledgeable and have years and years of experience in this. Now, not to say that they wanted to be the frontline guys, but they just want to be involved. There's a lot of other things other than just, jumping in the front and actually, shovels in the ground and water on the fire. There's a lot of logistics that go on behind the scenes, and these guys could be helping a lot, and the government is actively turning them away. And this is where a lot of the argument comes in, that the politicians are happy to have a disaster, and there seems to be this perverse incentive for them to have this be as bad as possible, because they have an agenda that they're pushing forward, and that is the climate agenda when it comes to taxing the citizenry based on the carbon usage, whether it's energy or just you're heating your home, cooking your food, all of this stuff, and the costs that they're brought down the line. This is a snowballing tax that is being presented at Canadian citizens, and a lot of people are asking, where's this tax money going? Is it actually going to the efforts that you say it's going towards? And is it actually climate change that's causing this issue in the first place?
Okay, I am just, as heads up to everybody, do you have the 3-year-old producer running around? This is my friend's house, trying to make sure she doesn't destroy everything while I'm doing the live stream. So if you see me turning my head one direction or another, it's not because I'm on fire, it's because I'm just trying to keep myself from getting sued by my friend after we leave this house. Okay, so Clyde, here we go. Let's play this video, last minute or so of it.
Oh, our team stayed on standby, hoping that we'd get a call all week, and that call never came. So if you lost your house and fires remained out of control, when a politician looks you in the eye and says, we did everything we could, they're lying to your face. And what has to happen here is people need to be held accountable, both at a bureaucratic level and at a political level. So how do we fix this? What has to happen is a database has to be put together of retired DNR forest firefighters. The guys are still interested that would like to be able to come out, can keep themselves up to date, and get called in on short notice rather than use the CIFC program that they use through Shubenacadie, and call in locals first. And there's no reason it can't be done. All it needs is political will. So something has to change. And if I lost a house and I had been evacuated, I would literally be crying at the top of my voice for politicians to fix this. So it needs to get done, and it needs to get done now. No more excuses. Anyways, guys, that's a little background that you're not going to hear anywhere else. So peace out and take care of yourself out there.
Okay, so I mean, it's pretty clear. He's saying that there was that issue. Now let's talk a little bit about the forest management stuff. So first off, yeah, fire suppression, he's saying like we weren't called in to help address this issue. But fire suppression itself has become a very controversial topic because for a long time it was just accepted that fire was bad and we were supposed to put out fire. And now forest management practices have included prescribed burning and understanding that when we were suppressing all these fires, we were creating dense underbrush that burns a lot easier. In other words, it's much easier for fire to continue moving on because it used to be like harder to, you know, if you had these patchwork areas of trees or you had less undergrowth, there was just less fuel. And so now we have these, when I was at the Department of Natural Resources in Washington shooting videos before they fired me over my podcast that had nothing to do with wildfires. But anyway, they probably would have, I guess, if I was talking to Clyde about this. They go, she's not allowed to talk about this. But they have these fuel crews now, you know, like their whole, they basically have these crews of people who are specifically, their whole job is just to go out and get rid of these extra fuels that have developed and grown because of decades of fire suppression. So why don't you cue your show and tell, Clyde, so we can take a look at
Well,
that.
yeah, so I had a bit of show and tell, and I didn't know you had so much experience in reporting on this subject, and it's actually quite surprising. It's nice to hear this, that other people are reporting on this, because you're not hearing a lot about this in the mainstream media. Like I said, CO2 is the villain of the day. It's the answer to everything. Suppress CO2. Well, we've been suppressing things, and one of those things is fires, forest fires, for a long time. But this is a thing. It's a natural cycle in the ecology of North America and around the world. Actually, fires rage through forested areas. But what we've done and what we've changed about it is we've actually made the situation worse. One of the senior research people at this is what the ecological process and function from Pacific Northwest Research, Paul Hesberg, he actually put together a TED Talk where he talked about this in particular, and he brought forward the idea that it's actually what we've been doing to the natural forests of the region that have caused a lot of the issues. And both the idea that we've been logging out a lot of the big trees, we've been planting in a lot of small trees, creating denser and denser forests with more fuel load, but we've also been taking away a lot of the trees. And a lot of that comes from our history. And I'll show again on the screen here. And this is the 1910s fires. And this is something that happened historically. It devastated a lot of, I think it was the Pacific Northwest, where a lot of fires had raged through. Towns got burned and people were lost their livelihoods and their lives. But 80 people died in that. And what we got from that was a new strategy of Smokey the Bear, kill any forest fire that you see, suppress it. But now, all these years later, we have Wokey the Bear. Only carbon tax can prevent forest fires. And that's where we're at. We've been suppressing these forest fires for so long that we now have this excess of fuel load in our forests. And when we do have forest fires, they seem to be raging harder and hotter and burning lots more hectares or acreage, as you guys say in the US, every time that they burn. Some of the other added problems with this is the scorched earth problem. When they burn that hot and they burn that long and they burn that far, it can actually destroy the enzymes in the soil. It can destroy the nutrition in the soil. That would actually, the purpose of these fires would be to actually bring in new nitrates and other nutrients into the soils. That's what the natural process is. But when they burn this hot, they actually kill the soil, and they can actually kill it. And it takes, on average, about 30 years for the ecology to recoup the losses in these large fires. And so it turns out we are largely the problem in this case, but it's not because of our SUVs, and it's not because of how much fossil fuels we're burning. It's about how we've been managing our forests.
I wanted to show this quick. This is Cliff Mass weather blog. Cliff is a scientist at the University of Washington who is, I would say, to say he's not beloved by the mainstream media would be an understatement, because it's always funny to me when you have a professor at one of these major institutions that almost always has a unanarrative about a particular issue, and then you have like the one guy who is somehow still employed but going in the opposite direction. I'm fascinated by those people. But here he basically writes, he has the stuff. Alberta is on fire. This is a headline. Alberta is on fire, but climate change is an election taboo, basically, pairing these together. And says that May is typically the biggest month for Alberta wildfires. There's little upward trend in Canadian wildfires, and anthropogenic greenhouse gas emissions are a very small part of the story. And then runs through it. So highly recommend people looking at this. Again, Cliff Mass blog. For all of Canada, the number of fires is decreasing, and there is no obvious trend in the area burned. So I just thought that was really interesting too. But to go to the point, here, I was going to say this one part too. The lack of a long-term trend in wildfires is important. One would expect an upward trend if global warming climate change was a significant contributor. Back to your point about the fires of 1910, and then, basically just the human idea, I guess, over the last century that, it hasn't only but recently become, I think, part of accepted culture that, like, just because something inconveniences us, doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. Like, in other words, we used to look at anything that would just sort of got in our way of living an easy life. Like, they used to x-ray people's feet to help you fit your shoes better. With just radiate your feet, that was just like a normal thing. They just bring your kid in, we'll fit them for shoes, stick their feet in a cancer box. And, just so we make sure your kid, and they're like, oh, maybe we shouldn't radiate your feet just to make sure you have shoes that are the right size. Maybe we should figure out. And that was just the way things were done. So fire was a bad thing. We didn't see it as something that played a very significant role in the ecology of forests. And so, like I said, like, that's a huge part now of forest management. But at the same time, as we've noticed with these, and anytime there's an opportunity to talk about it, even if the media doesn't directly blame it, they always somehow bring it into the conversation. Have you noticed that, Clyde? Like, even if they'll pair it in the headline, even if they don't say A plus B equals C, they'll still talk about it incessantly in the articles, even if it has nothing to do with it. And so for the reader that walks away that's not being a critical thinker about it, they're like, all I read in that was climate change. And so that must be a thing. Even if they're not making the direct link, they still just cannot stop talking about that in these particular events. And so it does leave people, I think, with the sense that, like, they just hear it ad nauseum. So whatever you hear the most of must be true if you're not thinking critically about this issue.
Well, the thing is, it's a lot like damming up a body of water. What you're going to do is you're going to get a larger thing that's going to build up. And then when that dam breaks, you're going to have a lot more devastation coming forward. And that's what fire suppression really has been in this case. And one thing that's not being talked about a lot, largely by the mainstream media as well, is the growing numbers of arson cases that are actually sweeping around the Canadian area. And it's funny because the number of forest fires have been huge and largely surrounding elections and things like that in our country. That's what a lot of people have been noticing. And there's might be a correlation, maybe not causation. I don't know, but we are seeing people being charged with arson in these cases. And it may not be all of the fires, but it's definitely a growing trend.
Well, that's such a good point, because another thing that was very common knowledge when I was at DNR was that almost 90%, even it could have been over 90%, some years fires were caused by people, whether it was, burning debris on our own property and it just gets out of control, or it's a fireworks, or like gender reveals, or whatever, a particular thing is. But the vast majority of wildfires are, whether they're intentional arson or they're people who made a mistake of some kind, the vast majority are started by humans. So one question I have, and I've brought this up to a couple people because it's something I really would like to look into, and I'm curious if you have, is weather manipulation, because it's just something now that outlets like ABC just brag about. Like Ginger Z, who's probably the most famous mainstream meteorologist in the United States, she just posted on Facebook a couple months ago about how cloud seeding was not something we could just afford to do all the time when I was in journalism school, but now we can do it all the time. We could just spray silver whatever chemical into the clouds to get more snow. And I mean, I'm sorry, I think a thinking person has to ask, like, what has been the long-term effect of weather manipulation on some of this stuff that, it sounds like you're a conspiracy theory, but now that ABC brags about it, I mean, I guess we can all talk about it. Have you come across any of that as any part of like conditions, I guess, that are ripe for for wildfires, even though Cliff is saying that it's not even increasing in Canada anyway. So it would be dumb to even call it a trend in that direction.
So I have looked into some of the conspiracy theories around what people call chemtrails, the contrails. That's largely, I mean, there's no evidence to suggest that jets are spraying aerosols into the atmosphere or any sort of liquid chemicals into the atmosphere as they're going by. Now, cloud seeding is a real thing, and it's something that a lot of countries are actually using. If you you go to some of the Middle Eastern countries, rich oil countries, they'll use cloud seeding every once in a while, and it's very expensive. But to bring rains in for particular times of the year, and yes, they use particular phosphors. I'm not sure the actual chemistry is behind it, but it's not contrails. It's they'll actually release almost like a firework behind an airplane, and it releases a dust particle into the upper parts of where clouds would normally seed. But because those particles wouldn't be there for the moisture to collect on, they wouldn't seed naturally. So they come in and they do that. The moisture is there and available, and that's what helps cloud seed. That's from my information, the knowledge that I've gotten so far. That technology exists, but it's quite expensive, and to just willy-nilly go changing things unless they had a strategic plan. Then I don't know how it would be implemented.
Well, two quick things before we move on to the last couple things we're going to talk about. You need to have a conversation with Kristen Megan. She used to work for the Air Force, and she's been talking about, she was like a whistleblower for chemtrail stuff. So you need to talk to her. She's been on a couple times. She's really interesting, but she's been talking about like cloud seeding this up. Lots of states just do it. I mean, you can look it up. MIT. It's just like a common thing now that many states are doing to try to. They say it's to increase snowpack, but who knows?
Right. I'm just making a clear distinction. Cloud seeding and contrails are different things.
Yeah,
and they actually look different as well when they're deployed. Yes,
but I was just mentioning it because she's somebody. I mean, I don't know. I don't have her knowledge, but she's been on a couple times, and she says it's a real thing. So I don't know. I mean,
I'd like to talk to her.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Yeah. I can't give her it. What was I going to ask you? Okay, yeah. So well, first off, I wanted to go over to locals real fast and just thank everybody who's on my editorial board. Don't forget, everybody, if you want to support my work, you can go to AllisonMorrow.locals.com, put questions in for interviews. And Grumpy Old Man was saying there was a satellite photo showing how multiple fires started within minutes of each other with no clouds in the sky.
Yes. So that I don't know if you have that footage handy, but
I don't, but I can look it up.
It was in Quebec, and it really looks suspicious. So there were no clouds, and it's being blamed on lightning strikes. But there was a number of forest fires that all start at the exact same time, and I don't have the answer for it. What I can only say is that it looks very suspicious, and I think that it's worthy of an investigation. I think obviously they should go to these regions and see if there's anything there, if they can determine what the cause of these fires were. But to have all, and it's not just like 4, 5, or 6, there was like in the dozens of fires all starting up at precisely the same time. Again, with after cloud coverage had cleared. If it was lightning, you would see them start up sporadically. That's what my opinion would be, but I'd love to be proved otherwise. I would love that to be the case. But as of so far, as of yet, there has been no incendiary devices or anything like that recovered. So that's the other side of the coin.
Okay, everyone, don't forget, you can keep me in business, keep interviews like Clyde coming on, and help me if my 3-year-old destroys my friend's house to pay for any damages while this live stream is underway by going to AllisonWinePromo.com, 50% off my favorite extremist altitude Malbecs and 50% off shipping. The one in the middle comes from the oldest vineyard in Argentina, over 200 years old. It is Father's Day tomorrow. It's too late to get wine for your dad this year, but you can, well, if you ordered it, you could print out that you ordered it and give it to him tomorrow, which doesn't help him drink on Father's Day, but a week later, when he realizes, dang, I'm still that person's dad, I need a drink because you know what? They're stuck with you. Even if it's not Father's Day, get him some wine to remember that, yes, he's still your dad. And if you don't like your dad, get it for yourself. Because everyone always says, like, I don't like my dad, and you make me feel bad on Father's Day that I don't want to get my dad wine. And get it for yourself. All right. Stop complaining. Forgive your dad. Get yourself some wine to celebrate that you've let go and released all that anger, and drink to free speech. So thank you to everybody who goes to Allison Wine Promo, helps give me business. And thanks to Bonner Wine for sticking with me through some controversial topics and not canceling me. Okay, Clyde, let's go to this last little bit here. This is Alan Savory that we're looking at. I don't think I'm going to show his video, but tell us about it.
Yeah, so we got into the topic of droughts, the droughts that are coming in, and this is becoming a large issue with drier and drier soils. We're having historically high dry soils, and a lot of people are blaming this again on climate change. And Dr. Alan Savory, his research is fascinating in the fact that he's been actually able to turn around areas of the planet that have been due to the climate changing or whatever forces are causing these changes. He's been able to reverse the course of desertification. And desertification is the drying of the soils and runoff. And largely he finds that it's actually the large mammals that used to be walking around on the continent. Largely, we used to have lots of bison and all of that walking around grazing these areas where they had thinner forests naturally over 100 years ago and going back further. And he's come up with a new method to actually mimic that using cattle and grazing cattle over large areas and moving them over areas so that they'll eat the grasses so that they don't become more flammable areas, doing the scorched earth thing, burning everything off, actually tilling the soil in the process of bringing these animals around. And the dramatic effects that it's been causing to these areas that he's been working on is actually what's been happening is as these forests, they grow, they block out the canopy and they kill a lot of the undergrowth. So you have ferns and things that actually hold a lot of the moisture in the soil. And they slowly release the moisture. If you live in the Midwest or the coastal range, coastal mountain range, we're a rainforest for most of the year, but then we have our dry seasons. And because of the canopy being crowded off and a lot of these ferns holding in the moisture, the runoff goes right into the rivers. And then we have dry soil for the remainder of the summer period until fall comes. And this is largely what's leading to just how flammable these forests have become over the past decades or so. So again, another issue that's leading to expounding the issue of forest fires and how hot they can rage when they do
Okay,
that.
Clyde, while you're talking, obviously I was looking this up because I wanted to get this in before we go. I was trying to find that satellite image, and of course Reuters did a fact, so it must have caught the attention of the fact checkers. And they're saying satellite images captured fires in Quebec spreading rapidly throughout June to June 2nd. And experts have attributed these fires to documented weather conditions. Posts on social media, however, have shared a clip speeding through the satellite footage to claim it shows the fire started all at once and that this is evidence of a coordinated attack. So they're saying that it was manipulated
it's not evidence of a correlated or a coordinated attack. But here there's the footage right there in that tweet.
Okay, here
you can see as the fires all lit at the exact same time. So it's evidence that a lot of fires lit at exactly the same time. The cause isn't actually given in this. There's no evidence to what caused these fires, but there is the fact that they all started at exactly the same time, which is suspect. So a lot of people are speculating into it. And again, as I said, no incendiary devices were recovered as of yet. But I haven't heard much about investigation into it. So I know investigations are underway in Alberta under the new premier who was just elected in, Danielle Smith. So that's
Could you see that while I was playing it, Clyde? Because I have a laptop, so I can't look at you while I'm playing that. Okay, so it was showing. Okay, good. Okay, did we miss anything? Is there anything else we need to talk about related to this?
I think we're there, but I do know that, and I want to reiterate that this is the the path that the government of Canada is taking at the moment. And I know this is largely an American audience and you don't have much of a say in what's going on in Canada, but the Trudeau government is pushing this climate agenda. Everything is blamed on climate change, and the solution for this is carbon taxes. And I want to maybe show the American audience out there what can happen when these carbon taxes are brought in. We have had our second round of carbon taxes brought in, and an odd behind everything carbon levy has been introduced as well. We're going to be paying upwards of 60 cents per liter of carbon tax for gasoline in Canada. But that goes further. It goes all the way up the food chain to distribution, to farming. Everybody's paying these carbon taxes. There have been some exemptions given to farmers, but they're still paying it in their fuel costs. They're still paying it in a number of other ways. And it's a snowballing tax that's actually going to lead to worse environment, because people will have less money to take care of the environment or donate to environmental causes, but they'll also have less money to feed themselves and shelter themselves. And this is a big problem in Canada. And we would hate to see our free neighbors for the South to fall under this same threat of the indulgence taxes, essentially, is what exactly it is.
Okay, Clyde, in real time, we're going to try to figure out, my husband hasn't even left the airport that you're flying from yet, Lynn. Is that what you're saying in the chat? Because we're picking my husband up at the airport. And I just told him in the chat, we're running late because my phone is not near me. And I'm like, oh, shoot, he's in the chat. And he's watching me on YouTube, not picking him up at the airport. I probably should let him know that we're running a little late. And he writes back, that's okay. Haven't even left yet. So, Lynn, could you...
Oh, that's insane.
Got pushed back due to climate change? I mean, weather. Wait, so you're still in what city exactly? Can you tell us that in the chat, please? So I know what we're doing, or maybe just, I don't know. So, okay.
Yeah,
well, Clyde,
still Atlanta. Or ATL. Is that Atlanta?
Serious? Okay. You should just drive. Anyway. It's
a long drive, isn't it?
I know. Yeah, I'd say 8 hours. 6 hours. So around there. Okay. Well, I guess we don't have to rush. Anything else?
Yeah, that's right. You're in Florida. I'm thinking Atlanta.
Oh, you know what? I wanted to say one last thing. Yeah, I moved to Florida. Yeah, it would be a long drive for him to go back to Washington State. That would be very rude of me as a wife. So one thing, I guess, as a final thought related to this is, I personally, my beef with selling people on false information related to environmental topics is that, as somebody who personally does care deeply about natural resources, I'm the person who uses hydrogen peroxide to clean my house because I don't like chemicals. I support regenerative farming. I support farmers and agriculture that I believe is better for our land and water. I don't dump a bunch of chemicals down the drain. I'm really anal about all that kind of stuff. When you sell people on false narratives, what it does is it turns people into those who rightfully are skeptical of any concerns over use or abuse of natural resources. And they think everything then is just a government control tactic. And then you get kind of what we have now, at least is in my opinion, where you have sort of a politically charged, either like everybody is into the government control narrative, or the other side is like, I won't listen to any of this. I'm going to go, dump oil into Puget Sound or whatever, just because I don't believe there's any problem. It's just, it turns people into these extreme, one side or the other dichotomies. And it rightfully makes the people who, I think, like, to go back to a video I did a couple years ago for Thanksgiving, for instance, I noticed that when MSNBC and Fox News Channel were reporting on Turkey and inflation, MSNBC's, or NBC, I guess they're the same thing, basically.
Yeah.
Their narrative was, okay, so Turkey's more expensive this year, so just have lasagna. It's better for, it's better for your pocketbook. You'll have fewer people come over, so it'll be cheaper anyway. And, there's always the whole environmental side to it, like, animal agriculture. And so it's just, just better off, just have lasagna. Then, of course, Fox News Channel was like outraged that they would suggest you not have your turkey. So they were like, go get your butterball turkey, show everybody you're American, and like, don't care about, any of this stuff. And like me, I did a video about, here are my you know, my friends who are an hour from here, they raise grass-fed pastured turkey. I mean, they're not, you know, they eat grass, worms, whatever, but they're out, you know, it's like, instead of just throwing the baby out with the bathwater, there is, and to me, it's important for our family. And I think, you know, those of us, for our health and for our resources, to maintain, honestly, to maintain a livelihood and to have good food sources that are not necessarily controlled by the government, to support local agriculture and to care about the land and all this stuff. And when you sell people these narratives, it just turns them off from caring about any of it. I got a baby crying, so I got to go. But does that make sense what I'm saying? Like, it just,
No, it totally
creates
does.
these two extremes. Yeah, people who are all about the government control, and then people who are like, I'm not going to listen to any of it. And I think both of those are bad ultimately for the environment. And I do care about the environment. And so I don't like it when we push these false narratives.
So first, I would say vinegar is also a good cleaning product.
I'd use that too. We just started that too. Yeah,
encourage people to use vinegar because it's also good for the environment for many reasons. And also, I'm very concerned about the environment. And in that, I would say I would go a step further than where you're going with this. And I would say that by introducing people to the wrong source of where the problem is, you're pushing people in the direction of having the wrong solutions for the problem, and actually expanding, making the problem worse in the solution that they're trying to go after. Like I said, a lot of these people are going after methane gas. Let's reduce the amount of cows in North America. The Irish are fighting with their government right now because they want to reduce the number of head of cattle because of this. Well, Dr. Alan Savory is saying that, no, actually, if we had more cattle ranging, but not just in one spot, but move them around, and it would actually help fight against desertification, then we would have less dry soil, and then we would have less of these fires. A lot of the solutions are coming in the absolutely the opposite direction, the actual solutions. So if we really stop and look at the rhetoric and what's going on, we might be able to turn people around. I'm actually encouraging people to, because of the climate alarmists are completely abandoning ecology. I'm saying I'm making an open call for people to start a new environmental movement that actually moves towards real solutions for cleaning up our environment, not this catastrophe death cult that's being sold on everybody. Let's actually clean up our environment. What we're doing with garbage by just chucking it in landfills. Mm-hmm. I know we have the space for it, but it's not actually the best thing we can be doing. In Canada, for example, we tend to take our recyclables, which aren't very recyclable anyway. We ship them off on barges across the Pacific Ocean to places like the Philippines, where they sort through it, they refuse it, send it back to us on a barge, and then we say, no, we're not taking it, and then they'll send it to another Asian country to be incinerated. We should just be incinerating it here. With our current technologies, incinerators are actually only producing, I know the bad one, carbon dioxide and water vapor. All these chemicals that were problems in the past, we found solutions for them. And why don't we talk to the engineers and the scientists that actually are coming forward with solutions, not politicians that are coming forward with taxes?
And one thing I know, it's true, preach it. One thing I know about your area, Vancouver, having covered the southern resident killer whales, is that you guys just dump your waste into your sewage right into the water there, don't you? I mean, there's not even, that's at least something I was covering. There was just a bunch of human waste that just gets pumped into the Salish Sea around Vancouver.
Well, we no longer do it in the region, in the Howe Sound region where I live. Okay. Actually, there was a place called Britannia Beach where there was a copper mine, and for about 100 years after that copper mine closed, the ecology had been destroyed. And now it's all coming back. And we're actually really proud of the fact that we've cleaned up our area. And this is what the environmental movement should be. No more real pollutants going into waters. But, you know, we treat our water before it goes out into the ocean. We treat the gray water, brown water, and that goes into the ocean. And that's fine. But yes, I'm actually for cleaning the environment. I'm actually a huge advocate for this. And this is the mistake, that when people say, oh, you don't believe the climate, the CO2 climate hysteria. you're anti-environment, you're an anti-environmentalist. No, I'm actually a strong advocate for the environment. And this is why I want to take the environmental movement that they've abandoned and revamp it and move it towards solutions, actual solutions that we can do at local, municipal, and provincial, state level ways of implementing things and actually see a difference.
Okay, Clyde, I hope when you run against Trudeau someday that we'll be able to get you still on the channel.
I'm a reporter, and I know I'm talking like a politician at this moment, but I'm very passionate about it. I think it's one of the things that I care deeply about.
Well, me too. And it's, for me personally in the United States, it's why I really don't like the two-party system, because the Republican and Democrat Party have done a terrible job of addressing one of the issues I care the most about, which is exactly what you talked about, because they, you know, it's either you have to buy into the government is the solution to everything. And these issues, the way they present it, are correct, which I disagree with them on a lot. Or you know, the Republican Party just makes you want to think that there's just no problem whatsoever and everything's just an effort to control you. And so we shouldn't care about our choices whatsoever, that our choices just don't matter. We should just go do, you know, eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow you will die. That's like the Republican, you know, that's the way Republicans often look at it. And I don't fit into either one of those worlds. So, but I almost think it's intentional, because if you really wanted to keep the disasters and the messes going, you would have a system, a political ideology that models exactly what we have right now. And that's just people either who have just become insane, robotically controlled, myopically, you know, just myopically looking at these situations as if it has to be this top-down model from the government, and the topics that the government chooses for us to care about, to the damage and detriment of these issues you just brought up, which really do need to be addressed. Or, you know, you're just somebody who's just like, screw it, I don't want to talk about this at all. And when, you know, you're somebody like me who opens their mouth and says, I care about this, they tell you, you know, that girl, she's obviously got to be like a Joe Biden groupie, crazy person, you know. So
it's a false dichotomy, right? You get lumped in one group or the other.
Yeah.
But yet, I think a majority of Canadians, a majority of Americans, they fall somewhere in the middle anyway. And this is where I think there could be a large amount of political will. I think Andrew Breitbart, he said it best, that politics is downstream from culture. Change the culture. If you change the people's behavior and how they want to have their local and municipal areas run, well, you'll see changes moving forward from there. And I think that's where people should concentrate their efforts. Okay,
Clyde. Thank you so much. I'm coming back in. Here we go. Okay, good. I was frozen for a second there. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Clyde. Everybody go to Clyde Do Something on YouTube. Is there anywhere else people should be following you other than Twitter and YouTube?
Well, Twitter and YouTube, those are big places. I started doing shorts actually on YouTube, as well as posting them on Instagram. I know there's a lot of people who still use Facebook. It's one of those old websites that boomers love to use. I don't know, I'm joking. No, there's still a lot of people on Facebook, and sharing YouTube videos or Rumble videos or things like that on Facebook, they're really not allowed. They'll get buried in the feed. So I've been putting stuff on Instagram so people can share that. It's more shareable type, under 1 minute content. So go check out that on Instagram. And if you share things on Facebook, that's the place to do it. Because yeah, again,
trying to find
suppression.
Clyde's. Sorry, Clyde. I'm trying to find your. I was just looking at this. I'm like, what is going on here? I clicked on Clyde Do Something YouTube. It's Marianne. Don't worry about it. My friend's like, your kid's awake. I'm like, it's okay. He's. We're gonna go get him. Can you hear him? I gotta.
Yeah, we can hear him.
See, this is what's happening to me whenever I click on your channel. What is this? Let me go grab him while you explain. This is you. The 3 powers of government. Explain that. I'm gonna get Jack. I'll be right back.
3 powers of government: print money, interference of private property, and overspending. Teacher, what's wrong? It's very wrong. They need to stop. Yes, this is this is my channel. I'm not sure where we're going with this. This is the communities tab where I share a lot of memes a lot. I try to keep things going on the relevancy circle by just keeping a lot of my posts to YouTube, as well as going on Twitter. Most people use Twitter as an extension to their social media. I'll also be using the communities tab. I guess a lot of people don't know about the communities tab on YouTube. If you go to a person's channel, you'll find the communities tab, and it's only offered on mobile services for some reason. But when you're scrolling through YouTube, that stuff will pop up, and it's fun. It's a great engaging way to keep the community engaged.
Yeah. I've all but given up on my YouTube channel, but I'm still trying. I mark my words. I will go below 100,000 subscribers again. And then I'm gonna do my unboxing of my 100,000 subscriber plaque, which I still haven't opened yet. I've had it for a year. Haven't even taken it out of the box yet. I'm gonna unbox it when I go back down to 99K. Congrats! Oh yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, mine's still in a box. Because I had been wanting to wait to unbox it for a video about like I got my 100,000 subscriber, but then when I started seeing that I was losing thousands of subscribers, I thought, well, why do it now? Now I might as well wait till I get to 99K, and then I can do the whole unboxing when I don't even have 100,000 subscribers anymore. I maybe title it something like, they gave me this plaque even though I only have 99,000 subscribers. I don't know what's going on.
Does Rumble have prizes for?
No, but they should do that. They should do that. Yeah, because I'm doing way better on Rumble. Like, I don't know. I mean, I have twice as many people watching on Rumble right now as YouTube. I don't know, Clyde, you're a big draw. I mean, we have 175 on YouTube and then another 230 on Rumble. And then I haven't even checked ROKFIN and locals, but Clyde's always a big draw. So that's why
I appreciate
that's why we have him on, right, Jack?
People like having me on.
Say hi. Say thanks for helping me,
Jack.
Clyde. Hey.
Cute guy.
He just fist bumps. There.
Oh, nice.
Fist bump. He's waiting for you to fist bump. Okay.
Oh, yeah, right there. Boom.
There you go. All right. Bye, everybody. It was great seeing you, Clyde. Go support him on his channel. And if you're watching, it means you haven't been unsubscribed from my channel yet, but keep an eye on it because you might be. See you next time.
Thank you so much.